Hey, I'm Dean and this is Legacy Voyage. In Season 1, I'm documenting my journey to earning my first 100K net worth as a full-time college student. Join me as I share some of the lessons I learned along the way.
That's what I'm gonna talk about today. Of course, I'm gonna still talk about the game analogy because it just keeps building and building, and I can't stop thinking about it in my head. The first thing I really want to hit on is that it's pretty tough to enjoy the game when you suck at it. And it's so true. Like when I first started playing rugby, for example, I sucked at it. And I remember I was like pulling up playing a grade older than me. So there were all the other kids were older than me. And I was just bad. And I didn't like the game. And I think that happens at the start of every single game. Like, if you go into a video game and you play that for the very first time, you're gonna suck at the game. And that's just how it is. And when you suck at it, it's super tough to actually enjoy the game. And the only way for you to get to that point where you start enjoying the game is to play the game. And so I think there's a start where at the beginning, when you first begin playing the game, you're probably not gonna like the game. Now, this isn't applying to like every single thing you're ever going to play in your life, but I think it does apply to most things. We're at the very start, because you suck at the game, you're probably not going to enjoy it, but you have to live with that because in the short term, oh, you may suck. You know that in the long term, there are probably some returns that you're going to get at the end of it. And because of that, it's worth it. Let's put a real example to this. When I first began my fitness health journey, I sucked at it. I was bad. I didn't know how to handle my mental health. And I would always beat myself up if I had a cookie or ate a pizza. And I would completely ban foods and prescribe like moral values to foods. Cookies are bad for you and broccoli is good for you. And although that might work for some people, that definitely didn't work for me. And because of that, I didn't really enjoy the game because I sucked at it. And it makes sense that I suck at the game because I never played the game before. So there's this period where you have to just start playing the game and you're going to suck and you're going to keep sucking and you're going to keep playing the game. And as you do that, you're going to suck less and less. And then eventually get to the point where you don't suck and you might actually become good at the game. But I really think the magic is when you enjoy the suck. It's when you enjoy the pain. That's really where the power is right there. Because if you can get through that, if you can enjoy it, there's really nothing you holding back. So that's the first thing I really want to hit on. The other thing is that belief comes before ability. If I first come into a game, I'm not all of a sudden going to become good at the game. And I'm not all of a sudden going to become good at the game out of nowhere. It takes playing the game. And the only reason that I would play the game is if I believe I can become good at the game. So once you open yourself up to that belief, once you hold that belief where, okay, I might actually be able to get good, then it opens up that opportunity for you to actually put the work in, for you to actually put the hours in playing the game to get good at it. And like I said before, that's where the magic happens. Because once you're good at the game, it's super easy to enjoy it. I'll tell you that. Third thing I really want to hit on is this little syllogism, is what it's called in philosophy. And I'll spell it. The logic goes like this: if I am a human and all humans have two legs, then I have two legs. That's how the logic. And I applied it to this analogy with this. If you shouldn't play games if you know you're going to lose, you know you're going to lose this game, so you shouldn't play this game. And you can talk about whatever game you want to talk about. But that's what I thought. That's what I believed. Is that if I know I'm going to lose this game, then I shouldn't play the game. And the way to attack these syllogisms is to go at the premise. The second one was, you know you're going to lose the game. Well, do you know you're going to lose a game? If you go into hell, do you know that you're going to lose that game? If you go into a test, if you go into insert anything you want, do you know with absolute certainty that you're going to lose that game? And I would think it's no. You might be highly likely to lose a game. Okay, I'll grant you that. But are you completely certain that you're going to lose a game? Probably not. So the syllogism falls. But let's say somehow you are completely certain. You have, without a shadow of a doubt, you know for sure that you're going to lose this game. Now let's look at the first premise. Is it true that if you know you're going to lose a game, you shouldn't play it? I'm not sure if I agree with that because I think there's real value in playing the game, in that entire experience of the game. Like putting it into something, let's say rugby. Okay, we're playing rugby and we're the absolute worst team in the league, and we're about to play the absolute best team in the league. And right before we get into the game, all of the starters on my team, they all get injured. So it's all the second strings. And then now we're pulling up to the game and our coach isn't there. So now we're playing with our second strings. Our coach isn't there. Oh, and guess what? Everyone forgot their water. That's a perfect example of, okay, we're most definitely gonna lose this game. Like very likely, highly probable that we're losing this game. And now we're gonna go through that experience. We're gonna get thrashed by the other team. At the very end of it, what do you think happened? Honestly, I think from that experience that my rugby team would say, I'm sick of this. I think from that experience, my rugby team would say, okay, we're not doing this anymore. We're gonna be changing things from now on. And from that experience, I think the rugby team will get better. Now, there's obviously the other chance that because of that, they like completely lose faith, lose hope. There's really two ways to approach it. And that dives into a whole nother thing that I was talking about mindsets and how you perceive those type of experiences. That's a whole nother thing. Go back and listen to other podcasts. But the one I really want to focus on is because they know they're gonna lose that game, okay? I don't think you can immediately jump to, then they shouldn't play the game. Because in that experience of playing the game that they know they're gonna lose, I think they become a better team. And that's where I've come to right now, is really debating all of this out, really wrestling with these ideas, and I'm building on and on these ideas, and I'm loving and it's the exact reason why I'm so into philosophy. It's philosophy that gives me this different way of thinking about life, about the world, that I believe will give me a leg up, just life in general. And I think that's powerful. I really do. I think it's important to define games because I've been talking about it over and over and over again, but I haven't really put a definition to it. And although we don't always necessarily need definitions, I think it's super helpful to not only define words because when we know what we're actually talking about, it makes it super easy to apply it in our lives and for that to reflect our actions. And so I've been trying to think through this definition, and I think I've come on something that fits pretty well with everything I've been going over. And the way I'm defining games is any activity where there are rules, there are players, and there's a goal. If an activity has those three things, then I think we can define that as a game. To put an example on that, in the game of tic tac toe, the players are me and you. The rules are X's and O's. If you get three in a row, then you win. And if it fills up, then and no one wins, and it's a draw. You play again. And the goal of it is to get three in a row. That's one type of game, which would be a finite game. And then the infinite games are those things that never end. There's known and unknown players. The rules are changing, and the goal of it is to enjoy the game. So an example of that would be something like marriage. Because in the game of marriage, it's not some finite game that has an end to it. The goal of marriage is to stay married and enjoy it. And it applies to so many other things. And that's the first thing I want to touch on was really putting a definition on the game. So moving forward, I can think about that more and we can both apply it to our lives. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about was picking your pain. And there's something that a friend of mine he kept bringing this up, and for the longest time I disagreed with it. But now I think I finally realize what that means. And the best way I can describe it is talking about health and specifically nutrition and food. Last year when I came to school, I was constantly bloated and couldn't really move, and I'll get super tired after walking up a flight of stairs. And that was one type of pain. The other pain that I'm choosing right now is to feel hungry. And with that pain comes along the feeling of I'm able to really focus in on my work, the feeling of I feel light on my feet and I don't feel bloated 24/7. And that feels amazing to me. Much rather pick the pain of feeling hungry than the pain of feeling completely bloated. And both sides of that, they both have their pros and cons. But I highly believe the pros of being hungry are way better than the pros of being super bloated 24/7. And just long term health in general. It feels so much better for me to be hungry. And that's what I've realized now. But it's such another thing that I thought about for a long time. I didn't want to, it's not that I didn't want to bring it up, but I haven't brought it up yet. And it's this idea of there's always a pro to every position, no matter what game you're in. For example, if you come from a super rich family, both your parents are super rich, they have all types of money, then the pro of that position is having access to that type of cash. It's having access to that type of network, the type of people your parents are going to be around and hang around just throughout life. But the cons of that is that you're never going to know what it's like to come from a tougher upbringing. And on the flip side of that is that if you did come from that tougher upbringing, like my childhood, it wasn't the roughest out there, but it definitely wasn't amazing. It wasn't the complete, you have all this money that you can just spend for days. But I'm glad I went through that because that experience gave me something that a super spoiled rich kid just will never have in his entire life. And that's the pro of my position, of my upbringing. And I think you can apply this to everything, even with those small mom and pop restaurants that are lying around local to the place, local to whatever town you live in, compared to big McDonald's. McDonald's is this huge corporation. If you go there, you know what you're going to get. It's super fast and it has this huge brand around it. So you would think, okay, has all of these positions. What could be bad about McDonald's? But if you look at the other side of the smaller mom and pop restaurant, the way they position themselves in that game is like, I am local to this place. I actually care about you. I'm more personal. McDonald's, they don't know you by name. And I've been here for years. I grew up in this town. And that's where they would hit it at. So that's a thought that I really came up with over the summer is there's always a pro to your position. And you just got to figure out what that pro is and really hone down on it, really focus in on that pro. For the life update that I really want to give, my dad pulled up today, so I had some time, grabbed some dinner with him. That was awesome. Well, really, this entire day has been sick. It's been super sick. Running around to meetings and meeting a whole bunch of super sick people. And for example, I met the co-founder of Tinder, and he was telling his whole life story, all the lessons he's learned. And I think the biggest takeaway from all of his talking, all of his speaking, is the way he thinks. It's just so different. His mindset about the world is so different. And you could really see the way he looks at life. He looks like he's happy with what he's doing. He looks like he actually enjoys everything that he's doing. But I remember a couple days ago, I went to this huge Blackstone networking event. And Blackstone is like the number one private equity firm, real estate firm in the world. And I go over there and I'm meeting everyone. They're all doing something in finance. They all sound like they hate what they're doing. They sound like they absolutely despise their jobs. I was thinking to myself, I would not want to be one of these people who just sound like they're not enjoying life. But that fool Danish, he seemed like he was having fun. Man's already like probably a billionaire or something. He has millions and millions of dollars in the bank. And after he founded all these huge tech companies, goes as a nonprofit, Mans decides he wants to go back and get his PhD. Mans literally goes back to Stanford to get his PhD. And right now he's just living his life. And that's so sick. But there was a couple key takeaways. And like I was talking about before, it was the way he thinks. His whole thought process is so different. Like he was breaking down the whole idea behind Tinder. And I really want to share this because I thought it was mind blowing. If we're at a park and I see a cute girl across the park, and she's by herself, maybe she's reading a book or something, and I look at the girl and I think she's cute, why would I not want to walk up to her? Well, it would be like fear of rejection, right? It would be afraid of bothering her and all those things. And in our human psychology, we have a deep desire of not wanting to be rejected. But if all of a sudden I knew that that girl was interested in me, if I knew that, then it would make me way more likely to take that step forward to say, okay, let me go talk to her. If I knew that she liked me. And that was really the whole idea behind Tinder. It was this huge thing behind wanting to have this double blinded, double sided way of confirming attraction. And the way he explained it, I'm probably doing a terrible job of it, but the way he explained it, it showed how he was trying to align the psychology part of our human behavior with the economics part of how we view incentives with the product design of the actual Tinder app itself, and combining all of those things, putting in a pot, stirring it all up, and boom pops out Tinder. And from there, it just explodes. But it was the way he thought about building the whole thing was way deeper than I would have ever imagined. I did not think the founding story of Tinder was that deep and thoughtful and super, super smart. And that's what it was. And he shared some amazing insights. Two things that I really want to touch on right now is something he called the trust framework. And I'll probably do a deep dive into this eventually. But the trust framework has three things. It means trust is made up of these three important components that if you're missing any one of them, he doesn't want to invest in that company. And the first one is logic. Second one is authenticity. And the final one is empathy. So if you have those three things, logic, authenticity, and empathy, then they're probably going to go and do big things. And that was the trust framework. Now, the thing that stood out to me the most the entire night was something he mentioned of this sweet spot with learning. With learning, there's this middle where you know enough to be dangerous, but you don't know enough to be afraid. And that was the biggest epiphany right there. This is a rider downer right here. Know enough to be dangerous, but not enough to be afraid. Because there's so many examples with Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and all these huge successful founders where if they knew it was going to be that difficult to do what they did, they probably would not have done it. And there's so many examples of that thing. But when he was talking about just know enough to be dangerous, but not too much to where you're afraid, to where you're scared to even go and do the thing. And that is really the sweet spot where you want to be playing the game. This episode was kind of long, but there was a whole bunch of insights that I've had, and I really, really loved it. I'm lucky really behind on some projects that I'm working on, but it's okay. I'll just get better as we go, keep playing the game, and I'll see you in the next one. I record these episodes completely free to share success with everyone. So the only thing I ask is that if you learned anything or found something interesting in this episode, just leave a review and share it with a friend. Only takes 5 seconds and it would mean the world. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next episode. Tatok, see you.